Today we are going to be making a recipe you guys have all been waiting for. We are going to be making a homemade beer battered catfish paired with homemade, made from scratch cornbread, along with our personal favorite, our secret recipe, but it's not a secret because we'll give you the recipe, a fresh tartar sauce made with fresh dill, fresh lemon, all fresh ingredients. If you guys want to see how we caught this catfish, I'll go ahead and link that video for you, but today it's all about the cooking. My name's Amanda, my twin sister Emily is behind the camera, and welcome to our channel, Gale Force Twins. First, you're gonna wanna set your oven, and then you're gonna wanna grease your pan. We're just using an 8-inch Pyrex pan, and I greased it with a stick of butter. We're gonna be making our cornbread on the stove in a large skillet. We are going to start with melting our butter. Our butter, as you can see, I've already had it out and softened, and that's just going to help speed up the process of melting your butter. I'm just melting my butter on a medium heat. It's melting pretty quickly because I already had it at room temperature, which is just, like I said, speeding up the process. Now that our butter is all melted, I'm gonna go ahead and turn the heat off, and we are going to add the sugar. Now the sugar is gonna melt into the butter, but you're going to want to either pull your pan off of the heat or turn the heat off, because the next thing we're gonna add is the eggs. At this point, it's really important to take your pan off the heat because we're gonna be adding our eggs. Now, if your sugar and butter mixture is too hot, your eggs are gonna cook. So pull it off the heat, mix it all together, maybe even wait 5 minutes. Just keep mixing it until it's cool enough because you really don't wanna cook your eggs. We're gonna add our baking soda to our buttermilk, and we're just gonna stir that together. Then we're gonna add our buttermilk mixture to our sugar, butter, and egg, and just stir it all together. And we're still off the heat. We haven't turned the heat back on. We're just gonna get this all stirred up. For those of you guys that don't know, Emily and I actually used to have our own business in high school. It was called Twin Bakers. We had a baking business, and we've always steered toward recipes and ingredients that use whole butter or whole milk, buttermilk, because it just makes everything taste so much better. You will probably find a lot of cornbread recipes on the internet that call for oil and 2% milk or maybe whole milk, but our recipe, we like to use butter and buttermilk, and that really, it still gives you that crumbly cornbread, but it really keeps in all that moisture, and that's why we're a big fan of our recipe, just because it's the butter and the buttermilk together is like our go-to. Then I'm gonna take the rest of my dry ingredients, my cornmeal, of course, because it's cornbread, my flour, and a pinch of salt, and I'm just gonna mix them together into a dry bowl before I combine this with my wet ingredients that are on the stove. I always like to stir my ingredients either with a whisk or a fork, something just to loosen them up and get rid of any clumps. I'm gonna slowly start adding my dry ingredients to my wet ingredients and stir that all in. In general, cornbread is a little bit of a clumpy mixture, so we're gonna wanna stir it to remove as many of the clumps as we can, but really try not to overwork it, and it's okay to have some clumps left over. The last step with the cornbread is to pour our batter into our Pyrex pan, and we're gonna put that whole thing in the oven. Good how good this looks. Pouring that into our pan. Here we go. Homemade cornbread from scratch from the Twin Bakers. While the cornbread cooks, Emily is going to show you our super fresh ingredient tartar sauce.
Do you want to see the tartar sauce? We're gonna make tartar sauce.
Hi, Rover.
I can't put kitty hair in the tartar sauce. No. No. All right.
Oh, he's really vocal right now. Should I give you some treats? Want some treats, buddy? There you go. No? Not really. He just wants to be on YouTube. While our cornbread's cooking, it's time to make the tartar sauce. We want to have that made before we make the fish, so when that fish comes out and it's hot, you got your sauce ready, you got your sides ready, and it's all good to go. I love this tartar sauce recipe because we use real dill pickle, fresh dill, all fresh ingredients. Let's get to it. First, we're going to start with our mayonnaise. The next ingredient is the fresh dill pickle. Fresh chopped dill, my favorite. And then half a squeezed lemon. A must for this recipe is Worcestershire sauce. I added Dijon mustard. I prefer Dijon as opposed to regular mustard. It is kind of up to you, but if you have the choice, I definitely recommend the Dijon. Now we're gonna add a pinch of salt and pepper. I'm gonna stir it and then I'm gonna taste it before I continue to add more salt or pepper, or just leave it as is. We're gonna stir all of our ingredients together. I like using this glass Tupperware because I can put a lid on it and then put it in the fridge, and it's not only my serving container, but it's also my container that I'll keep my extra tartar sauce in. Look at these beautiful colors of the tartar sauce. I love the way the fresh dill puts that green against the white from the mayonnaise. This looks delicious, it smells delicious. I can't wait to eat this with the fish. Definitely put your tartar sauce in the fridge while you start cooking your fish, so that way by the time your fish is done, your tartar sauce is set, your fish is hot, and you're ready to go. Our cornbread is baking in the oven. I can start to smell it. Our tartar sauce is setting in the fridge. And now for the final step, our homemade beer battered fish. Today's fish of choice is catfish, but you could use any white fish of choice. Before we season our fish and make our beer batter, we are going to start heating up our oil. Today's oil of choice is canola oil. Before we beer batter our fish, we're gonna season our fish with salt and pepper. Then we're gonna make our beer batter and dip our seasoned fish fillets into our beer batter. You wanna make sure that you season both sides of your fish with salt and pepper. Don't be afraid to be too heavy with your seasoning because a lot of it will come off once you dip it into your beer batter. To make our beer batter, we are going to whisk together our flour, our Old Bay, our garlic powder, our salt, and our pepper, and get all of our dry ingredients mixed together in a bowl. We're going to combine our dry ingredients with our lightly beaten egg, and then we are going to whisk in our beer. Now, today's beer of choice is, of course, we had to go with Islamorada Citrus Ale because we really wanted something that represented the Keys and our lifestyle. So we're going with a citrus beer, but you could really use whatever you want. We're just gonna use a whole can of it, and we're gonna put this in our dry ingredients with our egg. Perfect timing. I'm about to take my fish and throw it into the hot oil. And the cornbread is done, so let's pull this out. It smells so good. Golden brown delicious cornbread. We're gonna dip our catfish fillets into our Islamorada Ale beer batter, and then we are going to toss it straight into the oil. You can hear the sizzling. It smells so good in our kitchen. We are going to probably cook this for 1 to 2 minutes aside since we have pretty thin fillets, but you just wanna cook it that your fish cooks all the way through and you have a nice golden brown beer battered fish. Time to flip it. Oh, there we go. That looks golden brown to me. A good tip is to not overcrowd your pan with fish because if not, you will decrease the heat of the pan and the oil and you won't be getting that consistent golden brown on every piece. A really great way to prevent your beer battered fillets from getting soggy is to transfer them onto a cooling rack and just put a paper towel underneath the rack to absorb any oil, but you don't want your fish fillet to be touching that paper towel because it will create steam, making your fish fillet get soggy. Next, fish fillet going into the batter, and from the batter into the oil. Into the oil. Perfect. It literally, the smell of the beer, I can smell it when you put it in. Last fillet. Going on the cooling rack. Here we go. Here it goes. Oh my goodness. Can't wait to try this. This looks and smells delicious. I'm so excited to try this. Like, check it out. Wow. Look how beautiful that is. And just so you guys know, I don't know if everybody does this, but we put butter and honey on our cornbread. Here we go. Moment of truth. Ooh. Hear that crunch? I'm just gonna actually take this with my fingers. Dip it in the tartar sauce. Go for it, Amanda. Taste it. Is it good? So do you feel like you taste the Islamorada beer, or do you think if you did any beer, it would be the same? Good question. We're not really beer people. Yeah, I'm not the right person to ask that question, but I want to dive into this cornbread. Let's taste this cornbread. Ready? Go for it. Just take a big bite? Go. It's so good. Isn't it so good? I kind of snuck a bite in earlier. Wow. That was really good, guys. I'm gonna put the details, or not the details, the entire recipe in the description box for you. We're not keeping secrets here. If you use our recipe, let us know, drop it in the comments, send us a photo. Thank you so much for watching our catfish and cornbread video. Make sure you follow Gale Force Twins on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.